Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make crumpets, which are a griddle cake basically, made with flour. They have holes in the middle, or holes in the top should I say, and they're a very favourite British griddle cake, very good. And I'm going to use a recipe which I used many years ago when I first started my blog, and it's a Paul Hollywood recipe on BBC Food. It seemed to work quite well, so I'm going to use it again, but I thought I'd do the video to show you how to make them. So I'll go on to the ingredients, and for this I have 175 grams, which is 1 cup plus 3 tablespoons, based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of plain flour. And I have 175 grams, 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons, based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of bread flour. Now you could use all plain flour if you wanted to, but the bread flour does give slightly more structure to the dough, or to the batter basically. Then I have 14 grams, which is rather a lot, but it's 2 sachets of instant yeast. I have 4 grams of caster sugar, which is 1 teaspoon. I have 6 grams, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3 grams, half a teaspoon of baking soda, bicarbonate of soda. 350 milliliters, 1.5 cups minus 2 teaspoons of milk, which is warm, and I have here 200 milliliters, which is about 3/4 cup plus 4 teaspoons of water, which will be warm, but I may not need to use all of that. I may only need to use about 160 milliliters, but I'll tell you that later. Then I'm also going to use some oil to grease my griddle pan, or a frying pan if you don't have an electric griddle like I have, and to grease some crumpet rings. So the first thing to do is to mix the first stage of the batter, and for that I'm going to use a large bowl, and I'm going to put my 2 types of flour into the bowl. And I'm going to add the yeast into it as well, and then I'm just going to stir those around to get those mixed in with each other like that. I'll just set that to one side as I take my milk, and I'll put the sugar into the milk, and I'm going to stir that around to get that dissolved. And then I'm going to pour that into the flour, and I'm going to mix this around until it's all combined into a batter and there's no dry flour left, and it's nice and smooth, no lumps. This may take a few minutes. So my dough is quite smooth now, and I'm going to cover that, and I'm going to leave it for maybe up to an hour. The dough, because of the amount of yeast, should rise up, and then it should fall back a little bit, and I'll be able to see that because it will rise up and coat the sides of the bowl, and as it falls back it will still cling to the sides of the bowl. And so once it's started to fall back, I will come back and we'll go on to the next stage, which is to mix the water and the bicarbonate of soda and the salt into the batter to get the right consistency that we need. So I'll be back once this dough has risen for a while. So it's been an hour and my dough, or my batter, has just begun to sink now, and you can see lots of aeration in it. So what I'm going to do is I have my 200 millilitres of warm water, and I'm going to put my salt into that and my baking soda. And I'm going to stir that around. Like that. And then I'm going to add in about 3/4 of that water into my batter. And I'm going to stir that around. And I will add more liquid as necessary. I want to get the mixture until it's about the consistency of double cream, which is that heavy cream in the USA. Maybe a little drop more. And I think that's just about right actually, but because of the protein in the dough it clings on, but that's a nice consistency. So I'm going to leave that to rest for 20 minutes, and as it rests I'm going to heat my griddle pan to a medium heat, probably about 180 degrees Celsius, that's 350 Fahrenheit, and I've got some rings here which I am going to grease, and they will go onto the griddle pan. So I will lightly grease the griddle and grease these rings ready to take my batter. So I'll come back in 20 minutes when this has rested and the baking powder has begun to aerate the batter again. So I now have my griddle heated and greased, and my greased rings are on the pan. And I should say, if you don't have rings, you could use, if you've got empty tuna cans, you could wash those out, take the bottom off and use those as a ring. Or you can do free form crumpets, which are known as pikelets in the UK, and they would be thinner and they would spread more, but they're very, very good. So my batter has now been resting for about 20 minutes, and I can see some bubbles coming to the top. So I'm going to take some into basically a 1/4 cup measure, and I'm going to pour enough of it into the ring so that it is about half full at least. And do the same with the other rings. and I'm going to cook them on the rings until bubbles come to the top, and as the bubbles come to the top, they will start to burst. As you can see, one's bursting here, and they will create holes in the batter, and I want that to happen all over the top, and that's going to take a few minutes. And what I'm going to do, just to show you, is I'm going to take some batter and pour it onto the griddle without a ring. And as you can see, there are holes appearing over the top, and on the pikelet ones they're appearing more quickly because the batter is not so thick. And as those crumpets set, I'm going to lift off the rings because I need to clean those and grease them again for more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the pikelets over. I can see that they've now gone dull on the top. As the crumpet ones in the rings go dull on top and the holes have appeared, I'm going to turn those over as well. And I'm just going to cook them for a couple of minutes on the second side. And so, with the pikelets cooked for a couple of minutes, about 3 minutes in fact, I'm going to transfer those to a wire rack. And I think now this one is cooked, so that can go onto a wire rack. These ones which are thicker are just about ready to turn over, so I'm going to turn them over. And let those cook, and as they're cooking I'm going to do a couple more pikelets, I think. So they're cooked as well, so I'm going to take those off and put those onto a wire rack, and then we'll make some more. So I griddled 12 crumpets or pikelets. I did 8 crumpets and 4 pikelets, and then just one more little crumpet that I had some batter left over. And I cooked mine, and it's very difficult to say the precise amount of cooking time. It depends, first of all, the temperature of your griddle, and depending on how you're doing it. If you're doing it in a frying pan, sometimes it's difficult to moderate the temperature or get the temperature sort of perfect. But basically you cook them on one side until the top side becomes holy, you know, it has little holes in it, and the sheen has gone from the film on the top, and it's a dull film. Then you turn them over, and then you just cook them for 2 or 3 minutes on the other side until you achieve the colour that you want. And that's all there is to it, basically. Then you can set them aside, and you can serve them warm straight away, or you can allow them to go cold, and then you just reheat them by toasting them, and then you can slather them with butter and some strawberry jam or whatever. You can serve them as you wish. So this is what mine look like. So here's the crumpets, and here's the pikelets, and as I said, the pikelets cook quicker because they're thinner, basically, and so they create the holes much more readily than the crumpets do. So they look quite good, and I've been eating this one, and I haven't actually been putting any butter on mine. I'm just eating it warm as it is, so I'll have a taste of it again. Now, crumpets have a unique texture. They feel almost as though they're waxy, they're chewy, and because there should be plenty of holes all the way through it, basically. And they're nice and springy to the touch. You can press them and they spring back. So that's the texture of them, but they're very, very good toasted with, as I said, butter, and they do taste very good. Now, I think you could also, if you wanted to, add a little bit of garlic granules, garlic powder and onion powder into your batter if you want a more savoury one. But these are just plain, which are ideal for serving, as I said, with some butter and some jam. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.